All right, so continuing on and thinking about rapport building, which is the goal of approach, building rapport as well as getting their attention with that value proposition to get them to listen. So you're setting the stage for the rest of the meeting. Things we need to think about. With a first meeting, you're always going to start with your first and last name, your job title, the company you represent, and then thanking them for taking the time to meet with you. I know a lot of this is going to sound basic, but students forget this and real salespeople forget this. So it's important that you note these things. Then you're going to try to figure out, get a read on the prospect, like determine their communication style. So are they strictly business type of prospect? So like a driver? Then you're going to minimize the small talk and make it more business focused. Are they laid back and chatty? Maybe they're more amiable. Then you might talk a little bit more on a personal level. You're going to adjust to whatever style they are. If you're in a follow-up meeting, they already know you, they've met you, but you still thank them for your time. For their time, not yours. Then the really key thing is you want to compliment them on something you learned from the previous meeting. Why do you want to do that? Because it shows that you care to remember, that you think that they're important enough to remember details. So it's always important in meetings to take notes. So the rapport building stage, so approach, is going to be, I said 1 to 2 minutes. I might extend like 1.5 to 3. A lot of it is determined on what type of buyer you're talking to or customer you're talking to. If I'm talking to a driver that wants to get straight to the point, I'm going to be on the lower end of time. If I'm talking to an amiable that really wants that chit chat, small talk, then I may be closer to the 3-minute mark. And once you get a good read on the situation and you figure out how long, the beginning's going to be, then that will determine when you transition to business, which generally starts with something like, out of respect for your time, I'd like to go ahead and discuss like why I'm here today, that kind of thing. So when you're doing small talk, what should you talk about? Things you can always talk about. The weather. I know it sounds silly, but it's accurate. For business, how long have you worked here? If they have a LinkedIn and you can see how long they've worked there, then you don't ask that question. You might say, like, if they had a recent promotion, congratulate them on that. Things that you might be cautious on discussing. One, you could discuss things that you see. That's fine. So let's say that you see a bunch of pictures where they're at like golf tournaments. You might say, it seems like you like golf, blah, blah, blah. Or for instance, if you came to my office, there's lots of Cardinals baseball stuff. So you could bring that up. Things that you really have to be cautious about, especially really for the first meeting before you really know the person, asking about like their family or kids. So why could that be dangerous? What if they don't want to have kids and every time they're with their, larger family, they get pressured about that? What if they want to have kids and they can't? What if they're not married and they have a recent broken engagement or recent divorce? So that kind of stuff you want to be very cautious with, because it could set you off on the wrong foot when you don't mean to do anything or bring up anything negative. In future meetings, once you get to know the person, that may be stuff you can talk about. Other things to remember: impression management. So back to nonverbals. What's your default face? Is it friendly? Is it stern? We want to make sure that I'm giving off a good vibe. Make sure you're smiling. In role plays, students tend to get very serious and they look like, and I think sometimes they think, oh, if it's business, then I've got to have my serious face on, and then you look almost mad. No, let your personality shine through. That's what you add, is your personality. Make sure you're doing nodding and mirroring. But in terms of mirroring, what I mean is mirroring kind of what they're doing and then their verbiage. So if you are talking about children and they say kids, then I would stop calling children children and start saying kids. But what you don't want to do is be a parrot or a copycat, because then that's off-putting. And then again, another example that you'll use when you do your second role play, out of respect for your time, I'll switch gears now and tell you a little bit about why I think our company's products or service, blah, 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 your value proposition. So that is it. Please let me know if you have any questions or concerns, and I will see you Monday.